Hey everybody, it's Dave here from Dragonhill Games, and you're watching This Week in MTG Finance. As always, and before we get started, I want to thank MTG Stocks for allowing us to use graphical information for the purposes of this video. It's been a really crazy week this week. Every single card on the top 10 list is up at least 100%, so let's dive right in and start right here with Sea Dasher Octopus from IKORIA, Layer of Behemoths. Currently valued at $8.70, and this is up 119% this week. 119% for the number 10 card. That is absolutely astounding. Anyway, Sea Dasher Octopus, if you're not familiar with it, has a natural casting cost of 2 blue and 1, but you can mutate it for 1 blue and 1, and then its flash whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So sort of like almost like a ninja type feel, you know, you're going to get in there with something, flash drop this on whatever you got through with and draw yourself some extra cards. Really good deal for a 2 mana investment for sure. And I actually included this in the new version of Simic Flash. So I'll be posting a video on that later this week if that's something that interests you. All right, our number 9 winner this week is Crystalline Giant, also from IKORIA, Layer of Behemoths, currently valued at $2.91, and this is up 133% this week. Card's just super good value. I'll be honest with you, I can't find any particular deck that this is in, so if you know, let me know in the comments section below. But I actually really like this card, and I do want to brew with this card. I just haven't figured out where exactly to put this yet. I think it would go really well with the Ozolith, and if you're not familiar with the Ozolith is just a 1-mana artifact that essentially, whenever a creature you control with counters on it dies, you move all the counters onto the Ozolith, and then on a combat turn, the beginning of combat, you can move any counters that are on the Ozolith onto another creature you control. Would work really well with something like Crystal Giant. Crystal Giant is 3 mana for a 3/3, so just good value on its own. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, choose a kind of counter at random that Crystalline Giant doesn't already have on it. And essentially, it's all the different keyword counters plus a +1/+1 counters. The longer this thing stays out there, the more and more nasty it's going to get with all the different various abilities it's going to gain 1 each turn. And then, like I said, if you have it in some sort of deck that has something like the Ozolith, all these crazy counters will move on to the Ozolith when this thing dies. So I believe that this card's just really good value, and people are sort of realizing that. But like I said, if you know of a deck that this is actually in, let me know in the comments section below. And in the number 8 position this week, we have Rael the Everwise, also from IKORIA, Layer of Behemoths, currently valued at almost $19, and this is up 136% this week. Purely commander driven, of course. This amazing commander type card. So Rael is for 1 red, 1 blue, and 1. We get a legendary creature, human wizard. She's a 0/3. And when Rael the Everwise gets +1/+1 for each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard. So perfect in Izzet colors for sure. Whenever you discard 1 or more cards for the first time each turn, draw that many cards. Like I said, price is purely commander driven, would go really well in something like the new Calamax deck for sure. Taking up the number 7 spot this week, we have Hunting Ground from Judgment, currently valued at $14.75, and this is up 167% this week. Super good value in commander, just a really awesome value sort of play. So for 1 white and 1 green, we have an enchantment that has threshold. Whenever an opponent plays a spell, you may put a creature card from your hand into play, and you have threshold as long as there are 7 or more cards in your graveyard. Pretty easy to accomplish, especially in those colors for sure. And there's some chatter, some theory crafting about this being really useful in the new Cathril Commander deck. Coming in at number 6 this week, we have Duranah Magistrate from IKORIA, Layer of Behemoths. This one's also up 167% this week to $6.94. I really like this guy. For just 2 mana, 1 white and 1, we get a 1/3 human, and your opponent can't cast spells from anywhere other than their hands. Super good to include in a lot of different commander type builds. I think it might actually get some play in standard, and it could very well be a sideboard tech for humans in modern as well. Taking up the number 5 spot this week and up 183% to almost $29, we have Magus of the Moon from Future Sight. The Iconics Masters version has also taken a big jump this week, but still nearly $10 cheaper. So if you need a Magus for your collection, that's definitely the way to go. Magus is getting a ton of attention this week because it's been featured in a modern deck that's putting up really good numbers with Clythos, God of Destiny. Our number 4 winner this week is Adaro Wandering Monster from IKORIA, Layer of Behemoths, valued at $6.50, and this thing's up 192% this week. On its own, Adaro is nothing special. He is 2 red and 5 for a legendary dinosaur turtle. He's an 8/8 with trample and haste. However, when you cycle him, which costs you 1 red and 1, you put him essentially back into your library. So you're going to shuffle him back into your library whenever you cycle him. Now, if you've done that 4 times this game, instead you're going to put him straight onto the battlefield. So sort of a free spell if you can actually make him work. Pretty good value, and I'm sure people are going to find ways to break this card. Taking up the number 3 spot this week, we have Bonder's Ornament from the new Commander 2020 set. Currently priced at $2.25, and this is up 230% this week. Sweet little mana rock for Commander. For 3 mana, we get tap, add 1 mana of any color, and we can pay for and tap. Each player who controls a permanent named Bonder's Ornament draws a card, destined to become a Commander staple for sure. So our number 2 winner this week is Garuda, Doom of the Depths from IKORIA Layer Behemoths, currently valued at almost $9, and this thing's up an astronomical 730% this week. Just crazy. I don't think people really understood the power of Companion, and this thing definitely takes advantage of the Companion mechanic. So Garuda is 2 hybrid mana, blue, black, and 4. It's a legendary creature, a demon kraken, a 6/6, and the conditions for it to be your companion is your starting deck contains only cards with even converted mana costs. Now, when Garuda enters the battlefield, each player puts the top 4 cards of their library into the graveyard, and then you essentially look at all those cards and choose a creature with even converted mana costs and put it onto the battlefield under your control. Super busted. Now, if you're interested in decks that utilize the companion mechanic, I actually made a Luris the Dream Den deck. I'll put it up here in the top right corner if that's something that interests you. Check that out. Really super busted standard deck. All right, last but definitely not least, this week we had Cephalic Constable from 10th edition. It's also got a Judgment printing, which is a couple of bucks cheaper if that's something that interests you. Currently priced at $10, and this thing's up an absolutely mind-boggling 788% this week. Now, do note that this is definitely a spike. It had an intra-week high of almost $20, and we're at half of that price right now, but still up an amazing 800%. Now, the reason for this is because this card was featured on Command Zone. It's amazing how much impact the Command Zone has on financial markets. They're actually dubbing it the Command Zone effect. Now, the reason why this card is really good is because you have 2 blue and 1 for a 1/1 creature Cephalid Wizard. Now, when Cephalid Constable deals combat damage to a player, return up to that many target permanents that player controls to their owner's hand. In the Command Zone, they featured how powerful this can be is if you mutate it with something that has trample. So we throw a big trampler on top of this guy and it gets this effect, and then we go ahead and trample through for a bunch of damage and just return a bunch of their permanents to their hand. Seems pretty good. I've had some bad experiences with mutate cards. I will say that, I mean, a lot of times you're getting 2 for 1, and the earliest you would really be able to do this would be maybe turn 4. I mean, you're casting out Cephalid Constable on turn 3, and then mutating it with something bigger and tramplier on turn 4 and getting in there. So by that time, a lot of times your opponents have built up a board state. I mean, they would have to essentially not have an answer, and if they do, you're getting 2 for 1. So risky play, but if you can make it work, man, you can make them basically pick up their whole board. It could be devastating for a Commander player for sure. And before I get into cards I'm investing this week, as always, if you're a subscriber, you know I want to thank you for being here. I really appreciate your support. And if not, now's a great time to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We post at least 2 videos every week. All right, the first couple I have for you guys this week are more like watches, not necessarily buys at these prices, although even at these prices, I do not think that they're bad investments. However, I do think once Paper Commander 2020 starts getting opened and actually getting into the market, that these will probably come down a bit. And now that's based on, the history of what's happened sort of in the past with Commander product and stuff. That said, we are in a strange environment right now, and kind of all bets are off the table. Past history may not repeat itself with paper product going forward, at least for the next little while. So let's talk about Deadly Rollick and Flawless Maneuver. Both of these cards are excellent, excellent value. And actually there's one of these in each color in the new commander set. That's basically a free spell. So if you control your commander, you can cast the spell without paying its mana cost. And Flawless Maneuver in particular is 1 white and 2. It's for an instant speed, and creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. Free spells have a history of being broken in this game, and I believe that these are all no different. It would be totally different if, the actual mana cost on this was something crazy like 6 or something like that would make the card otherwise unplayable. But even in the event that you don't have your commander, paying 3 to give all your creatures indestructible until end of turn, or in the case of Deadly Rollick, paying 4 to just outright exile a creature, not crazy good value, but not really bad either. So still playable even at sort of these mana costs. So I do think that these cards are $40 cards down the road. I mean, in the event they don't get reprinted in future commander sets a bunch, which I can't really see. These cards sort of feel like they're specific to this particular commander cycle. So like I said, in the event that these don't get reprinted a bunch down the road, I do believe that these cards are just really, really good value, and that they're going to have an upward trajectory going forward. And the next one I have for you guys today is another one that I've got my eye on from Commander 2020. I think this one could be a little bit of a sleeper, and that's Netherborn Altar. Currently priced around the $4 mark. It's about where it's been, ever since it was spoiled. So for 1 black and 1, it's an artifact, and we can tap it, put a soul counter on Netherborn Altar, put our commander into our hand from the command zone. Then we lose 3 life for each soul counter on Netherborn Altar. I really like this for commanders that are really expensive. Those 5, 6, 7, 8 cost commanders, because once they get smoked a couple of times, they just end up being unplayable. The mana cost on them is too high. But a lot of decks, especially in black, can afford to be paying life for stuff. So I think this one's a bit of a sleeper. I think given time, this is $10, $15 card. I did want to point out to you guys this week that Thran Dynamo is a super great deal at $3.50. Now, it's the mystery booster version, but I mean, the Commander 2019 version's only $4. Some of the other versions are approaching the $6 mark, so there's definitely a gap between a lot of the different printings. Now, Thran Dynamo is obviously a Commander staple. There's not a lot of Commander decks that wouldn't want to have a Thran Dynamo in it. So, big time Commander staple. Great price to be picking this up. If you keep your eye out, like I've been saying sort of every week, now is the time to be watching mystery booster cards, picking up, cherry picking the ones that are really good value. There's still a ton of them out there. Like this Sark the Mad. I mean, this is a foil for under $2 of Sark the Mad. It's just ridiculous. Now, I know there's a ton of these out there now, and it's going to take a long time for prices on stuff like this to recover. But I mean, it's still just really, really great pickup at $2. Geez, a foil Sark the Mad used to be like $40. So think about that. All right, and last but not least, we have our speculation play for the week. That's right, it's Bonder's Ornament from Commander 2020. So currently priced at $2.25. It had a dip that only lasted a few days, and I wish I would have caught it. I mean, I watched the markets pretty closely, but no one can catch everything. But if I would have been able to catch this at around, under $1, I definitely would have bought a ton of these things. However, I'm still acquiring these things at $2.25. I really do think that this is a great price for this. I believe that this is going to be a commander staple going forward. For just 3 mana, we get basically a mana rock. We can tap it to add 1 mana of any color, and then we can pay 4 mana and tap it, and each player who controls a Bonder's Ornament draws a card. Super good value. The reason why I think it's a speculation play is because, I mean, I don't have a crystal ball. Who knows how many of these things are going to get printed, right? I mean, it could be something like Thought Vessel, where it doesn't get a whole lot of printings. Thought Vessel's only ever had 1 printing in a commander set, and then, a couple of minor reprints in other sets. But this also could go the way of, Arcane Signet and be in every single commander deck going forward. Who knows? In which case that would obviously depress the price on it. But in the event that this isn't printed over and over into oblivion, this will definitely command a much higher price than it does right now. What cards are you guys investing in? What cards are on your radar? Why don't you let me know in the comments section below? And if you like this video, go ahead and smash that like button. It really helps me out. All right, we'll see you again next week. Bye for now.